Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Marty Ross, and this is another Conversations with Marty Ross MD, the last one for 2015. And I actually still have to figure out when we're going to begin again in January. It'll probably be in the first or second week in January. I look forward to helping you tonight. To those of you that are new here, I'm glad to see some new faces. I also see many familiar faces as I look at the number of people that are here tonight as well, too. And actually, it looks like we got a good-sized turnout. I suspect I'm only going to be able to take at most one question per person, just to make everyone aware of that. To those of you that are new here, the way you write questions to me is you write them through the chat box that you're going to find on the right-hand side of your screen. Okay. When you hit enter, it gets to me. I eventually will post the questions so that everyone can see on their screen. And just if you are a person that happens to be looking at the recorded version of this, you will not see those questions posted on the screen. It's something you can only see when you see the live session, okay? But I will read the questions, so those of you that do look at the recorded version will be able to figure out what the question is that I'm talking about as well, too. So yes, there's going to be a recording of this. Tomorrow, you will get an email from me saying when the recording is ready to be viewed. So if you happen to miss any of the details tonight, you'll be able to look at it in the recording tomorrow. And you can find that recording through our main website, the TreatLine.net site, also called TreatLine and Associated Diseases, where I will do some screen sharing tonight so I can show you various resources that you can use from there as well, too. Okay. And then also, some of you may see some hopping around behind me here in a little bit, although I guess they're quiet right now. But I have a couple dogs that will be kind of coming in and out throughout the course of the webinar too. And that's Halo and Thor, so you may see them as well too. It's a family event here tonight. Anyhow, with no further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and take the first question. And let's see what we got here. Hello. All right. Hi, Sherry. Let's see. I have TPO antibody. So TPO antibody, everyone, is an antibody made against the thyroid, basically. My endocrinologist thinks I have Hashimoto's thyroiditis, but all labs are normal. I can't tell if symptoms are Lyme or thyroid related. Any ideas how to treat the autoimmune issue? TPO antibody in the meantime, is it advisable not to treat with thyroid hormones until labs are normal? Okay, so when you have, basically you have an illness where you're having antibodies made against your thyroid, but it at least appears from a laboratory standpoint, your thyroid is still compensating okay. So I still would look, I'd be interested in knowing though if you happen to have symptoms of low thyroid, okay? Because in Lyme disease, and also if you have an autoimmune thyroid illness where your immune system is acting against your thyroid gland, and I want to let you know that could be triggered by Lyme. Lyme could be triggering your immune system to attack your thyroid gland, okay? What you're most interested in Lyme disease, whether it's whether you have thyroid antibodies like you do here, or just in having Lyme in general, is we need to assess the thyroid. The most accurate way to do it is not lab testing. It's actually what your symptoms tell us, okay? So I would give thyroid in your situation, I would have you take thyroid prescription medicine if you have symptoms suggesting low thyroid. And symptoms that suggest low thyroid are having cold intolerance. Are you the person that has to bundle up a lot more than everyone around you to stay warm, for instance? Okay. Also, people with low thyroid will have can have dry skin. You might have muscle achiness. You may have hair falling out. Those are symptoms, and weight gain. Okay, those are symptoms that make us think of low thyroid. But the big one to me is whether you have cold intolerance. Are you a person that has to wear more layers than everyone around them to stay warm? And if you do, you have low thyroid, and you should be treated. Okay, and so that's how I would do that. I usually start with the desiccated thyroid at 30 milligrams one time a day. You can adjust it every 3 weeks based on what your symptoms are telling you. In Lyme, often the labs do not reflect what is truly happening with the thyroid, so you got to wind up managing it based on what the symptoms are telling you, okay? All right, now the other thing, and I don't get that I sometimes will do in situations where there is an autoimmune illness as part of Lyme disease, is I may try to correct the autoimmune component by using something called naltrexone, and we use it in Lyme as something called low-dose naltrexone, or we use it in autoimmune disorders. Okay, so what do I mean by autoimmune disorder? Well, I mean a type of situation where the immune system starts attacking you, okay, which is different than an allergy. This is where the immune system starts going after you. And one of the methods that we can use to regulate autoimmune illness is to work with naltrexone. So let me talk to you about what naltrexone is, and in a minute I'm going to show you an article where you can read more about it as well too. So our body has its own natural narcotic system. It's a group of chemicals called endorphins. And endorphins are made to regulate pain, but endorphins also regulate the immune system. And we have endorphin receptors. There is a prescription medicine called naltrexone, which is an endorphin blocker. It actually binds to these endorphin receptors, okay? Now, what happens when these receptors get bound up, what happens is the brain doesn't like that. The brain is always trying to maintain equilibrium or balance in the body, all right? So what it does, the brain detects that those receptors are bound up, and what it does is it starts making chemicals to tell other cells in the body to make more endorphins. And so when the naltrexone wears away, when it eventually wears off, those endorphin sites get flooded with all those extra endorphins. And what that does is it regulates an overactive immune system, okay? So there are some immune disorders where we actually have science that says naltrexone makes a difference. And those four illnesses are Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is a type of autoimmune thyroid illness, okay? Second one is ulcerative colitis. And what ulcerative colitis is an autoimmune illness where the immune system attacks the lining of the intestines. Fibromyalgia is a third one. And the fourth one is multiple sclerosis. For some people, their multiple sclerosis actually is an autoimmune illness, okay? So we do know, we have evidence that it can work in those, all right? It is called low-dose naltrexone because the pharmaceutical manufacturers make naltrexone as a 20 milligram pill. You can, when we use it for low dose, we start at 1.5 milligrams one time a day. And every 2 weeks, I increase by 1.5 milligrams per dose until a person is taking 4.5 milligrams a day. Take it in the morning because sometimes if you take it at night, it can give you insomnia. But it can help with people that definitely have autoimmune illness as part of their Lyme. I will use it on. Sometimes I will wind up using it as a treatment, say a year and a half or so into treatment. If somebody's not getting better, I might start wondering if their whole Lyme disease syndrome, the illness they have, is more autoimmune, in which case low-dose naltrexone is another thing that you can try. Doesn't mean it will work. It works maybe about 10% of the time in that kind of a situation, okay? So I've said a lot of things here. Let me show you two articles to take a look at in the TreatLine book later that can give you more information where you can go back and read about some of the things that I just said, all right? So I'm going to do a screen share here. All right, so I'm in the TreatLine book. This is at www.treatline.net. Many of you know this is the site where we have all of our information about Lyme disease, and the majority of it is the TreatLine book, okay? This is the table of contents over here on the left side where you see me moving my, or I'm sorry, this is how you navigate the TreatLine book. Look over here on the left side where you see me moving my mouse, okay? Other things you'll find on our information site is you'll find a link to our supplement store. You also will see our Lyme disease treatment guidelines tab here. There's a tab here that if you want to actually have an online visit with me, you can do so through this online consults tab. Our webinars, many of you know how to sign up for our webinars through the webinars link here as well too, okay? And then here's information about the clinic where I practice as well too, all right? So these are the extra tabs down here. All right, so where I want to go to navigate the book, the easiest way is actually go to the table of contents. And the articles that I want to show you here, I'm going to go to the tab we have on immune system. And on here, you will find a tab on immune system basics. There's some articles, but the one that you want to look at is this article called On Low Dose Naltrexone and Lyme, does it help? Okay, all right. All right, the other one I was kind of talking briefly about is this article called When Your Immune System Causes Lyme. So for some people, when they're not getting better from Lyme and it's a year and a half or so into treatment, this may mean that the immune system has attacked you, all right? And this is the kind of situation where low-dose naltrexone may be helpful as well too, okay? So you may take a look at that one too. The other chapter you may want to take a look at for more information about the thyroid is our chapter on hormones. And the article that I've written about the hormone, the main article here is called Heat Up, Speed Up about thyroid and adrenals. Okay, this actually even gives you a little bit more detail about why your hormones may be abnormal in Lyme and even have normal testing. Okay, take a look at that article. It'll give you some more information on that too. All right, let me go back here. Okay, thank you, Sherry, for that question, and good luck to you. And good seeing you here again too. Hello, Craig. Let's see. Curcumin and omega-3s help with cytokines, but I'm on a blood thinner because of a pulmonary embolism. Would these be safe to take or thin my blood too much? Could Lyme have caused the pulmonary embolism? Have any of your patients experienced pulmonary embolisms? All right, so got to think about that pulmonary embolism question in terms of whether Lyme can trigger it. But what I can tell you is, in terms of thinning blood, it is okay to use the curcumin and it is okay to use the omega-3s, even with the blood thinner that you're on. I don't find a problem with that, okay? All right. In terms of Lyme triggering pulmonary embolisms, there's many reasons for pulmonary embolisms. I actually haven't seen Lyme itself trigger pulmonary embolisms in somebody, but inflammatory conditions like those triggered by Lyme can lead sometimes to pulmonary embolisms. Everyone, pulmonary embolism means there's a small blood clot that forms somewhere in the body, and then it floats up into the lungs, okay, and gets lodged in the blood flow system of the lungs. One thing that Lyme can do that could lead to pulmonary embolism is when you have a chronic infectious condition in the body, one of the things that happens in chronic inflammation sometimes is that the immune system will overproduce blood clotting proteins called fibrin. And these can sometimes clog your blood and lead to blood clotting. It's rare. I haven't seen it actually happen just as a result of having Lyme by itself. But it is possible that, actually, as I'm thinking about it, it's possible that Lyme would be able to give pulmonary embolisms, okay? And so as a result of having what I call sticky blood, which is blood that is a little bit coagulates and clots up a little bit easier as a result of having an overproduction of too many of the blood clotting proteins, all right? All right, great. Good luck to you. All right, let's see here. Hi, Dr. Ross. My doctor just put me on rifampin at 125 or 150 milligrams a day for Bartonella relapse to increase slowly to 300 milligrams twice a day. I also take clarithromycin. She wants to add in Plaquenil. Is this adequate Lyme BART treatment? I see you recommend rifampin 600 milligrams once a day. And that it is a cyst buster. Don't see that. I think you had a second part to your question here. Hold on, let me see if I can find that. Okay, I think you said, don't see that in the literature. Does it cause herxing? I'm having increased neuropathy pain. Thank you. Okay. All right, so Debbie, let me go back here and look at the main part of your question. Okay, so in terms of treating for Bartonella, one of the main agents that works for Bartonella is the antibiotic called rifampin, okay? And when I design Bartonella treatments, I recognize generally that prescription antibiotics is a stronger way of going. They work generally about 80 to 85% of the time. And I find it best when you use 2 antibiotic combinations, all right? I divide my Bartonella treatments into 3 different tiers. Tier 1 are the treatments that are the strongest ones. And of the tier 1 treatments, there are what I call rifampin-based treatments, okay, of which rifampin is the main ingredient. But a second antibiotic that I like to add to rifampin is the clarithromycin. I also like to add Bactrim sometimes to that. I also like to add minocycline sometimes to rifampin-based treatments, okay? But rifampin is the main agent, supported in the case of getting rid of Bartonella by the clarithromycin that you're using, okay? And so that is a good treatment for Bartonella. In terms of how often you take the rifampin, you can either do it as 600 milligrams 1 time a day, or it is just as effective to take it as 300 milligrams twice a day. I generally like using it 1 time a day because it's just easier to take everything all at once. But if I've got a person that's developed a lot of nausea on rifampin, which can sometimes happen, I'll have them take it as 1 pill twice a day, 300 milligrams twice a day, instead of 600 milligrams all at one time, okay? So that's a way to do it. I don't think you need Plaquenil. I don't actually use it that often anymore. So Plaquenil, one of the reasons that people will use Plaquenil is, one is that it lowers acid levels inside part of your cells called vacuoles, okay? Inside vacuoles are where Lyme can live inside of cells when Lyme is of the intracellular variety, all right? So Lyme exists in 3 forms in you. Lyme lives as a spirochete. That's the corkscrew-looking thing that many of you see on the internet. Second way that Lyme can live is inside of your cells, is something called intracellular Lyme. And then there's a third form of Lyme where Lyme lives as a microscopic cyst form of the germ. When Lyme lives inside of the cells, we think it lives in parts of the cells called vacuoles. Inside vacuoles, Lyme releases acid that makes those vacuoles acidic, which at times can render medicines like the clarithromycin not quite as effective, okay? Plaquenil has a way of, inside the cells, will make those vacuoles more alkaline, less acidic, which can sometimes help the clarithromycin work better. So sometimes we'll use Plaquenil to help clarithromycin, minocycline, doxycycline, and Zithromax work better, okay? That's one reason to use it. Sometimes some of my colleagues, though, use Plaquenil because they think that it treats the cyst form of the Lyme germ. I don't think so. And the reason I don't use it for that purpose is there's competing science. There's some science that says it actually promotes cyst growth, okay? And so I don't want to put somebody on something that's going to promote cyst growth, all right? And I think there's other things you can use for cysts. So the treatment of clarithromycin and rifampin actually is a full BART treatment, and also is a full Lyme germ treatment. In terms of the Lyme germ, clarithromycin treats intracellular Lyme and spirochete Lyme, while the rifampin picks up the cyst form of the germ, so that's why you don't need the Plaquenil to hit the cyst, okay? And rifampin also probably treats intracellular Lyme as well, too, all right? So, anyhow, I don't think, so rifampin's your cyst buster, and to answer your question, yep, you can take the rifampin 2 times a day. There's no problem in doing that, okay? All right, so I think that answers your question. I want to do a quick screen share here and show you guys an article that you can look at the other ways that I say to treat Bartonella, including an herbal way that works about 70% of the time. That's to use the herbs Sitta acuta and the herb Hetunia that come to us out of Buhner herbs. Buhner being an herbalist that promotes that idea as a way of treating Bartonella, okay? So in terms of finding how do I recommend to treat Bartonella, take a look at the TreatLine book again. Look under the tab here, or the chapter called Infection Treatment Plans, and you'll see the article called Kills Bartonella, a Brief Guide, okay? Now, I recently updated this, I think maybe about 2 or 3 weeks ago. It looks like November 4th, almost a month ago, to include using the herbs Hetunia and Sitta acuta, all right? But what you're going to see here in this article is that basically one of the first things I say is you've got to boost the immune system. You are not getting rid of Bartonella unless you boost the immune system. And the way to do that is to follow our Lyme disease treatment guidelines called the Successful Treatment Recipe. Most of the steps in the Successful Treatment Recipe ultimately boost your immune system, okay? All right, then I divide our treatments, my treatments that I use for Bartonella, into 3 different tiers. The most effective ones are tier 1, and you'll see here, here's the rifampin-based treatments, okay? All right, other ones that then you'll see that I have a tier 2 treatment, and then there are tier 3 treatments, and in the tier 3 is the Houtunia sida acuta option, okay? So anyhow, take a look at this later. This gives you more detail, some detail about treating Bartonella, all right? All right, let me go back here. I just want to show you one other thing that I recently did too. I recently, as of this weekend, did an update on the article called Kills Babesia, a brief guide. And in here, I talk more about my preferred source for an herb called Cryptolepis. I no longer am recommending using the product made by Research Nutritionals because I don't think it works as well as a product that is made by a company called Woodland Essence. I tell you about that here. And I also address the issue in the update of the Babesia article that artemisinin, which is another herb that we use, some of my colleagues are saying it doesn't work. I disagree. I think it doesn't work as well for East Coast Babesia, but I think it works well for, that is East Coast of the United States. I think it does work quite well for East Coast gathered in other parts of the world, including Western United States and Western Canada as well too. Anyhow, so you'll see there is an update that I did on the Kills Babesia article here recently as well for that purpose, okay? All right, so I think that's what I wanted to show you here. Let me go back. All right, so that answers your question there, Debbie. And good luck to you. All right. All right, so this is another question from Debbie, and I cannot tell whether it's the same Debbie or not, but I'm going to take it because it does raise something I've been looking into lately. All right, so I keep getting asked about, and well, I'll read the question and I'll try to answer. So Merry Christmas, Dr. Ross. Could you give your opinion on low-dose immunotherapy? My MD is just starting to use it in her practice and is suggesting it for me. Can you explain what it's supposed to do? I'm skeptical of something so new. Okay, so everyone, low-dose immunotherapy, I'm starting to look at in a more positive light, and I'm looking to see about getting some training to start doing it in my practice as well too. All right, so I'll say that to you. All right, now let me just say a few things about it though. All right, so what low-dose immunotherapy does is we give you parts of Lyme and some of strains of the other infections that you see in Lyme. We give you low doses of it coupled with an enzyme called glucuronidase. And what glucuronidase does is it potentiates the immune system, a retraining of the immune system, a desensitizing of the immune system, so that the immune system is less reactive, less overreactive against Lyme, all right? So there is a theory that for some people, the reason that they have Lyme symptoms is not so much that they have, one of the reasons that they can have reactions or not feel well from Lyme is that the immune system actually is overreacting, all right? And that it sets up an ongoing inflammatory reaction. Many of you know tonight I already talked about that for some people about a year and a half into treatment, if they're not getting better, I might consider doing low-dose Naltrexone. That idea is to downregulate an overactive immune system, all right? Low-dose immunotherapy is another way of doing this, which is to get the immune system to stop reacting so strongly. Now, it's kind of a complex theory, and I'm still not quite certain if it is something that I'm going to be recommending for a lot of people or not. And here's what the issue is. You want to make sure that we don't take the immune system out of whack too much, that we don't turn it down too much, because we want the immune system to react against the germ. But for some people, I do agree, there is the possibility the immune system may become part of the problem. What we don't know about low-dose immunotherapy, though, is there is not enough of a track record of people using it for years on end to know if down the road, if people are going to wind up having problems from desensitizing their immune system against this germ, okay? But what I can tell you, though, is the initial reactions that that's the few doctors that are using this to treat Lyme are seeing is that they're seeing some pretty dramatic improvements for their patients. And so where I'm thinking about recommending it these days are in people that go through their antibiotic treatment, maybe a year and a half into treatment, where we know we've done a good job of killing germs and they still remain reactive, okay? I don't think it's a good idea to do up front because I still think you want to get in there and kill the germs. You want your immune system to be reacting against the germs. But at a point, and I'm just drawing the arbitrary line of maybe a year and a half into it, if a person's not getting better, it is possible that what's happened is the immune system has gotten overreactive, okay? And so I think in those situations, it might be something to consider trying. And so that's what I would say about it. I think it still would be considered to be experimental. What I have been reading about it and seeing about it, I think it actually can look impressive. And I'm going to be getting some additional training in it myself to start trying it out on some of my patients who want to try it. I'm not quite sure. It'll probably be into the new year, probably February, March, before I might start considering doing it on some people. And that depends on as my training and as I get more information about it. But as I've been reading about it, many of you may know I was kind of skeptical about it. I've said things about it here. The big thing being I'm concerned about taking the immune system out. You want the immune system to help. But I'm starting to think that maybe for a group of people, it might be a good thing to do maybe a year and a half into treatment. And the results that some people are seeing at desensitizing, getting the immune system so it's not as overreactive, look to be some impressive results that some people are getting out of this, okay? So I hope that answers your question. And I know this, I'm not quite sure if this is the same Debbie that I just took a question from. So those of you, don't worry, I'm going to get to other questions now, okay? All right. Thanks, Debbie, for that question. Hello, Eric. Let's see. Hi, Doc. My wife, hello again to you, Eric. I know you've been here before. Hi, Doc. My wife is being treated for Bart and Lyme. I got her a new pair of slippers about 5 months ago. We noticed that the footbed being soiled with dark gray color, now covering the whole surface. She never goes barefoot due to neuropathy. Same on her white socks. Doesn't wash out. Any ideas? Thanks. You know, it's possible. I don't know for sure what it is, okay? But when people, one of the ways we get toxins out is we sweat them out. And about 80% of how we get 80% of the way we get toxins out is fat-based toxins get into our bloodstream, they go to the liver, and they get cleared out by the liver. They get changed by the liver into a water-based toxin from a fat-based toxin. They go out into the intestines, they get mixed in our poop, and we poop them out, all right? But 20% of the way that we get toxins is we sweat them out. And so maybe she's sweating toxins out. I don't know. I have no way of knowing for sure what's showing up with that kind of color in the footbed of her slippers, but it'd be something I wonder about. All right? All right. Good luck to you, Eric. Good luck to your wife. And good to see you here again, too. All right. Let's see here. All right, let's see here. I'm not sure what the number 3 is there in your question there, Margaret, because this is the first question I'm seeing here. But let's see. Can't take grapefruit seed extract due to psych meds, Prozac, lithium, lamictal, and Wellbutrin. What else can I take for Lyme biofilms? All right. So first of all, you can take grapefruit seed extract with those medications, but let me clarify that. So it is true that you are not supposed to take grapefruit juice. Grapefruit juice. I didn't say grapefruit seed extract. I say grapefruit juice with certain medications because it changes the liver metabolism, the liver cleaning out of those medicines, and therefore will alter drug levels of those medicines. Okay, so a chemical in grapefruit juice does interfere with liver metabolism of Prozac, lithium, lamictal, and Wellbutrin, and you should not take grapefruit juice with those. Okay. That same chemical is also found in grapefruit seed extract, but in minuscule amounts. In fact, very, very minuscule amounts. And therefore, you can actually use grapefruit seed extract in these situations, okay? And I think that's what you meant. I don't think you meant grape seed extract. I think you meant grapefruit seed extract. Grapefruit seed extract I like using because it is an effective cyst agent. I know some people are starting to say it works on biofilms. I don't agree with that. I wouldn't use it for biofilms, but I do use it as an anti-cyst agent, okay? All right. All right. Thanks for that question, Margaret. Good luck to you. Hello. Hello. Hi, Saki. How are you doing again? Let's see. Hi, Doc. If doctors are finding spirochetes in Alzheimer's and Parkinson's patients, and those of us with chronic Lyme will never get rid of all the spirochetes, does this mean we are at high risk for Alzheimer's? What do we do about that? Thanks. So it's a good question. And I don't know. You know, there's a physician, a pathologist named Alan McDonald, who has spent a lot of time, and many of you may be familiar with him. He's on in the documentary about Lyme disease called Under Our Skin. Alan McDonald is the doctor that's in there that talks about discovering biofilms, okay, which again are slime layers that can cover the Lyme germ. And how he discovered them is he studies Alzheimer's disease, and he looked at brain biopsy tissues and found that there were biofilms covering Lyme germs on brain biopsy tissues. And he contends that Alzheimer's is probably all Lyme. That's what he thinks, at least when I've heard him speak publicly before. All right. So, but the issue is does everybody with a Lyme infection go on and develop Alzheimer's, or does everyone with a Lyme infection develop Parkinson's? The answer is we don't know, and I don't think so. All right. But there are some things that you can do to set the stage so that you are less inclined to get neurologic syndromes like Alzheimer's and like Parkinson's disease, okay? And so for many of you, so the way to approach this actually is more from a diet standpoint. You want to do a type of diet that is going to give you less of a chance of developing brain inflammation. All right, and the type of diet that does that is one that is rich in fats, low in carbohydrates, low in simple carbohydrates, and has a significant amount of protein in it. Many of you know that as something called a paleo diet, but I actually like using a modification on a paleo diet. What I like working with, and I'm starting to do this more and more with my Lyme patients, and actually I'm in the process of developing a new article that should probably go up this weekend. It'll be probably Saturday or Sunday. This is an article that's going to be a bit of a longer article because I've got to record a video that's going to be more of an explanation. But it's about diet, and it's going to have quite a bit of explanation in it. But a type of diet that works well is an anti-inflammatory diet and also supports your energy factories in your cells called mitochondria that I am now going to start using more exclusively with all of my Lyme patients in terms of a Lyme diet, is a diet is a modification of a paleo diet. And it's a diet that has 60% of the calorie intake being from fats, 20% of the calorie intake being from protein, and 20% being from carbs. And of those carbs, you don't get to have beans and legumes. Actually, you can have one serving of no grains at all. And you can have one serving a day of either beans or legumes. That's it. Okay, that's it. So that's your carbs, okay? Your healthy carbs that you still get to have that make up that 20% come from fruits and comes from vegetables, all right? And there are a number of in that diet, a number of therapeutic foods, and those therapeutic foods that are fruits actually are blueberries and pomegranates. Those are your best ones in terms of what you can do, all right? Now, there's a lot more detail that I need to give you, but what I would say is look this weekend, probably on Saturday or Sunday, you will see a detailed article that's going to go up that you can even pull some sheets off that you can use to design a very specific diet for yourself. And that's a modified paleo diet that is rich in fat, about 60% fat. The fats that you emphasize are grass-fed beef, grass-fed deer, actually, elk, buffalo is good, a salmon is good. So anything that's grass-fed is full of healthy fats. And then the ultimate fat that is really useful is coconut oil. And coconut oil is great because it's made up of something called medium chain triglycerides that are a main fuel source for your nerve cells and helps your brain really work well too. And this diet also that I just described is anti-inflammatory, okay? So simple, I know this, I got to give more meat around this, and you will see it this weekend. I'm intending on this weekend taking a large number of hours to come up with a more detailed diet article for you that will have video in it and will have diet sheets that you will be able to download. I've been working on it. Just haven't been able to pull it together yet, but you'll see it. It's a modified paleo diet. That's what I would do, Saki, is get on a diet. If you have Lyme, I'm starting to recommend that everyone should be more on this modified paleo, low inflammatory, good for your brain health good for your mitochondria diet. Take a look this weekend. You'll see an article that will go up on that. Okay. Now that I've said it, I actually have to get it up. So anyhow, I guess it's good reason that I do these webinars. It causes me to take more action than I usually do. All right. All right. Thanks for that question. All right. Let's see. Hello, Nina. Let's see. Hi, Dr. Marty, and thank you. I've been reading that people who don't get better should have the HLA-DR gene test and incorporate modified citrus pectin into their protocol. Would like to know your thoughts. Okay, so there are a number of things that I like to make sure that people are doing to get well. And if they do all these things and they're still not doing well, then there's some other things to look at, okay? One of the other things to look at is, are you a person that cannot remove Lyme or mold toxins? And where the HLA-DR test comes in is that the HLA-DR is a genetic test that says, are you one of the 25 or 30% of people that are genetically programmed in a way that you are unable to remove Lyme or mold toxins when they get in you? And if you are one of those 25 to 30%, then what you need to do is bind those toxins up so that they get out of you, okay? So there is a type of situation called, I call it biotoxin illness, which is you can't get Lyme or mold toxins out. So the way those toxins get in is Lyme is in you. That's how you get Lyme toxins, okay? Or you could breathe in mold and toxins from the environment, all right? Now what's supposed to happen when you get those toxins in you is your immune system is supposed to see them and is supposed to tag them for removal. Once they've been tagged, they go to the liver, and in the liver, they are transformed from a water-based toxin into a fat-based toxin, and then, from a fat-based toxin, excuse me, into water-based toxin. And as a water-based toxin, they get moved out into the intestines, and once they're out in the intestines, they get pooped out. But 25 to 30% of people that have an HLA-DR genetic defect are not able to do that. What happens with those people is those toxins do not get tagged. They go to the liver not tagged. They do not get transformed from fat-based to water-based. They get moved out into the intestines. And in the intestines, because they're still fat-based, they get reabsorbed again. So the way to deal with that kind of a situation is to bind those toxins up. Modified citrus pectin is a natural fiber that will do that. It's a soluble fiber, that is, comes from pectin. Pectin is part of apples. You get pectin from fruit as well too, all right? And so it will bind up those toxins. Another way to do it is with something called cholestyramine, which is a prescription. You can use bentonite clay. You can use something called zeolite. You can use, some people use cilantro. I think the strongest way is cholestyramine. The next strongest way is the modified citrus pectin. Then you can get into your bentonite clay. You can get into charcoal. Those are other ways you can do it. And cilantro, I think, is the weakest way of doing it. Okay? All right. Now, I'm going to show you an article you can look at for greater detail about this whole biotoxin illness. And I also want to show you the other things you should do before you ever even start going there. Because it's something I don't even look at until about maybe 9 months, maybe even a year or more into treatment. Do I even start considering it with a large number of my patients? All right. So I'm going to do a screen share here. All right. So what I want to do, I'm going to take a look at this article called, I'm going to look at our Lyme disease treatment guidelines. Okay. It's called The Successful Treatment Recipe. All right. And so basically what the successful treatment recipe is designed to do is these are the steps that anyone should do throughout a Lyme disease treatment to get well, all right? And this includes the critical steps that you need to help lower inflammation in your body and also to help boost your immune system. So number one, make sure you're getting sleep. And if you've got to take herbs or prescriptions to do it, do it. And I give you some recommendations here, all right? Second thing you want to do is lower inflammation chemicals called cytokines. These are made by white blood cells when they see Lyme germs and they're overproduced, all right? And they give you basically what all your Lyme symptoms are, really too many cytokine symptoms, but they suppress the immune system. So make sure you're using curcumin or other ideas that I discuss in the Herxheimer die-off reaction Herxheimer die-off reactions, inflammation run amok. I give you other herbal options in there, but do something to lower cytokines. Number 3, be on an adaptogen, something that helps your body deal with the stress of this illness, and that's ashwagandha. Number 4, correct hormonal abnormalities. And to do the hormones, you actually don't follow your lab test. You've got to go by what your symptoms tell you. So to figure out what symptoms can be of low hormones, take a look at the symptom section here. If you have a large number of symptoms of either low adrenals or low thyroid, make sure you're correcting for those, okay? Number 5, be on a good multivitamin, all right? And the one I like is a product made by Integrative Therapeutics called the Energy Infusion. I also like another product made by Thorne called Mediclear, either one of those, okay? Number 6, make sure you don't have too many yeast in your intestines, and if you do, get them out, because they suppress the immune system. How do you figure out if you have too many yeast in your intestines? Well, take a look at this link right here, yeast screening questionnaire, all right? Click on that, and it'll pop up a questionnaire. That questionnaire looks to see, do you have enough symptoms and risk factors for too many yeast? And if you do, you'll score 140 or higher. And if you score 140 or higher, treating for yeast will make a difference for you. All right. Number 7, treat your Lyme infection. Number 8, do some basic detox steps. Number 9, treat your co-infections. All right. Get exercise if you can, okay? And then part 12 of my successful treatment recipe, of my Lyme disease treatment guidelines, this is where I start saying, what do you do if this stuff doesn't work, okay? Well, number 1, keep doing all that stuff, okay? Those are the critical steps. What I just went through with you are the critical things to address in any Lyme disease treatment. But if that's not getting you well, and it's 6 months or beyond, 9 months or beyond, then start looking for other things that can interfere with how you're going to get well. One of those is look for Lyme and mold biotoxins, okay? All right, so click on that. And this is the article on Lyme and mold biotoxins, all right? So biotoxin illness. Take a look here. This is where I talk about fractionated pectin powder and cholestyramine and give you a lot more detail about the question you were asking, all right? And you'll find this article actually is part of the TreatLine book, and you'll find it on the detox chapter. And you'll find it as the article called Lyme and Mold Toxins, a Lyme Bite. Okay, there's even a video that goes along with that too. All right, let me go back here. All right, Nina, I hope that answers your question. So everyone, there's all these, what I call the sexy treatments, remove mold toxins, treat for mycoplasma, remove biofilms. These are all the things that everyone gets caught up in. But you can't forget to do the basic steps, which is sleep, lower cytokines, correct your hormonal problems, get yeast out, be on a good multivitamin, deal with an adaptogen, make sure you treat your co-infections, make sure you treat your Lyme. Then, if that stuff's not working, then start doing all that other stuff that we all read about as being the miracle cures. You don't need to go for those until the basic stuff isn't working. Then you start looking for that other stuff, okay? All right. Good luck to you, Nina. Thank you for that question. Hello, Lisa. Your thoughts on biofilms and intestinal parasites complicating recovery. My doctor treated 2 years of antibiotics getting worse, switching slowly to herbals still worse. Her OAT, oh, your daughter, I think is what you're saying. Her OAT test shows tons of candida and other bacterial treated with antifungals, no help. TIA. Not sure what you mean by TIA there, but let me see if I can make some sense of this, okay? So as you just saw, there are steps you can start looking at when a person's not getting better, all right? And so one of the things I always wonder about when I've treated somebody and they get better at first and they start getting worse, I start wondering, did too many yeast move into the intestines, okay? So number one, if I've got somebody that's been doing better and then they do worse, and I'm not sure that's what you're saying about your daughter, but I'm just giving you an example, all right? The number one reason in my practice that I see that people decline after doing better with the treatment is that too many yeast move into the intestines. All right. And so a sign that too many yeast may have moved in the intestines is you're doing better and then you start doing worse. Other signs that can suggest too many yeast in the intestines are sugar cravings, increased intestinal gasiness or bloating. In case of a woman, vaginal itching, vaginal discharge, worsened rashes on the skin, including acne. Acne, for some reason, gets worse when people have yeast, okay? So 90% of the time, when somebody has been doing better and they start doing worse, I look for yeast and I probably will treat for yeast, all right? Just based on what the symptoms tell me, all right? Now, in terms, and I don't do testing. Tests really are not that good. You know, if you test, the tests that you can do for yeast are to either see if you have too many, if you see if they culture in your intestines or in your stool. Well, we all have yeast that live in our intestines. So if I do a stool culture, I'm going to find yeast. That doesn't tell me if it's the problem. You can do antibody testing, which is what some of my colleagues will do, but we all have yeast living in our intestines, so we're going to have antibodies. That doesn't tell me it's too much of a problem. You got to go by what the symptoms tell you. You got to go by what the story, all right? So increased sugar cravings, intestinal gasiness, bloating, vaginal itching, vaginal discharge, acne, rashes that are getting worse. Those are things that might make me start thinking about too many yeast being a problem. Okay. Also, at the beginning of treatment, do that yeast screening questionnaire that I showed you earlier that you can find. I'll show you where you can look at it again. But it was in our treatment, our successful treatment recipe. There's also a whole article that I have written about how do you diagnose yeast. I'll show you that in a minute. Okay. All right. Could other causes that could be blocking treatment? Well, yeah, intestinal parasites can be a problem. But there's other things that can be a problem. So I'm going to actually go through that list now. All right. I showed you that earlier. It's part of the successful treatment recipe. But there's actually a chapter that I have in the TreatLine book that shows you what to do if you're not getting better. All right. So let's go over here. All right. So if you're not getting better, take a look at our chapter, the chapter that I've written called Can't Get Better, Do This. All right. And in here, what I basically say is look at detoxification, look at biofilm treatments, look at treating for chronic virus infections, start thinking about doing specific treatments to remove biofilms, make sure you've dealt with your co-infections, consider that you might have an autoimmune illness where the immune system is attacking you. One way to go after that is low-dose Naltrexone. You'll probably see an article in the next week or two from me about also doing low-dose LDI, low-dose immunotherapy. I just had a question from that earlier. It's something I might consider down the road in case there is an overactive immune system, okay? Make sure you get yeast taken care of, okay? So how do you start going through all this? Well, take a look at the article called Treatment Stuck, Try These Steps at 6 months and Beyond. And you'll also will see all of the things you might want to consider in the various articles that I've written down here, okay? All right. But if you're looking at all these articles, where do you start? Take a look at this one, Treatment Stuck, Try These Steps at 6 months and Beyond, okay? It'll kind of tell you how do you start working through all these things that might be going wrong, okay? All right, thank you for that question. Good luck to you, Lisa. Good luck to your daughter, actually. All right. Hello, Brenda. Let's see. Thank you, Dr. Ross. You're welcome. I have Lyme and Bartonella and am on moxicillin, probenecin, and Biotoxin. My symptoms are mostly neurological and are slowly getting worse. I am thinking of getting a phospholipid exchange or Myers cocktail IV. Which would you recommend trying first? Other recommendations. Okay, so I would have some further questions to really give you the best answer, okay? But let me just give you some generalities. And Brenda, you might even consider, if I don't answer your question well enough here, this is kind of complex, is setting up one of my one-to-one medical consults with me where you and I could actually visit for a half an hour or an hour over the internet. And I can give you ideas. I write it up in a doctor's visit note that you can use to guide your care, or you can use it to give new ideas to your doctor that maybe they're not thinking about as well too, okay? The only problem with one-to-one medical consults is I cannot prescribe and I cannot order testing for you because my medical board says I have to physically examine you, but I can pretty much design a whole treatment for you. And it just says if you need to have labs ordered or you need something prescribed, you're going to have to find another doctor to do that. Okay. All right. But in terms of when somebody's getting worse on treatment, there's a few things to think of. Number one, if it's a recent worsening, is you've added amoxicillin in, you've added Biotoxin, and you get worse within a week or two, think of a Herxheimer reaction, okay? So everyone, and Brenda, you probably know this, and everyone probably listening here knows this, but Herxheimer reactions, basically what happens is the immune system sees dead bug parts and sees toxins that get released from the killing of germs and reacts by making more of those inflammation chemicals called cytokines that I was talking about earlier, okay? So one thing to consider is, are you doing enough to lower cytokines? And to help look at ideas about that, take a look at the article I have called Herxheimer Die-Off Reaction, Inflammation Run Amok. I'll show you that article in a minute. You can find it in the TreatLine book, okay? Okay. Second thing I wonder about when somebody's getting worse as you're treating, I already mentioned it, is do you have too many yeast? By being on antibiotics, even if you're doing good things to prevent yeast, you may get too many yeast living in your intestines. And what happens when you get too many yeast living in your intestines is the immune system sees them and it makes more cytokines, okay? Now, everyone, you probably have heard me mention this again and again. When we say that somebody has Lyme disease symptoms, what they really have are too many cytokine symptoms. So if you've got another source now of too many cytokines, meaning yeast living in your intestines, triggering cytokines, you're going to feel worse. Or if you've changed an antibiotic recently, or you just started getting treated, and you kill Lyme germs, and the immune system sees them and makes more cytokines, it's increased cytokines that are making you feel worse, okay? All right, the third thing that I see that sometimes makes it so that people are getting worse as you treat the Lyme infection, and if it's not yeast, then often it might mean you're building up toxins. You might be one of the 25% that is unable to remove Lyme toxins, all right? So you're a person I might consider putting on the toxin treatments I was mentioning earlier to bind up toxins, and that would be to be put on modified citrus pectin or possibly cholestyramine, all right? I showed you that article earlier that you could take a look at, okay? So those are some thoughts to think of, all right? So let me go ahead and show you some articles that you might want to look at regarding that. All right, so let's see here. All right, so first of all, to figure out if you have too many yeast, take a look at the chapter called Yeast, okay, within the TreatLine book. And you can take a look at it to see if you might have too many yeast. Take a look at this article here. And in here, you'll find that questionnaire I mentioned. And also, how do you figure out if you have too many yeast if you're in the middle of treatment, all right? I also talk about how to kill yeast. And while I'm here, I just want to let everyone know there's an experimental treatment using a chemical called lufenuron that many of you know I have recommended before that had been unavailable. It is available again, but I identify a new source for it. So to look for the new source, take a look. I've updated the lufenuron article this weekend, and it now includes information about the newest source for lufenuron. You're going to be able to get it out of Canada here in North America, and there's an Australian source for other parts of the world. But anyhow, I identified here. So the lufenuron article is updated with this additional source as a way of killing yeast, okay? All right. Now, in terms of what to do about Herxheimer's, if this is a Herxheimer and you're feeling bad because of that, take a look at the article that I wrote called Herxheimer Reaction or the chapter called Herxheimer Reaction and Cytokines. And you want to take a look at the article called Herxheimer Die-Off Reaction, Inflammation Run Amok, okay? And in here, I give you many ideas that you might want to look at as a means of dealing with your Herxheimer reaction and ways to lower cytokines, okay? All right, and then finally, I did just show you that a few minutes ago, but in terms of detoxification and whether this might be Lyme or mold toxins and what you can do about them, take a look at the article, Lyme and Mold Toxins, a Lyme Bite. It gives you ideas on what you can do to bind up those type of toxins if they should be your problem, okay? All right, let me go back here. Okay, so Brenda, I hope that gives you some ideas to kick around, and I hope there's some ideas in there that will work for you. And again, I'm more than glad to help you look at some other ideas here too. I don't think I would go for phospholipid exchange or Myers cocktails. I think those are going to give you low chances. I would look at these other ideas that I just mentioned to you first. That's where I usually would wind up going. Okay? All right. Good luck to you, Brenda. All right. Bear with me, everyone. I have to just check out one thing here. All right. Okay, let's go back here. Hello, Randy. Welcome here. Let's see. I was on diflucan for the yeast problem, but only for 10 days. It made me feel awful, nauseated, more fatigued than usual, bad headaches, a huge Herx reaction. I started on Kumanda along with Banderol and Cemento. Does Kumanda do a good job of getting rid of yeast as diflucan? How much Kumanda? Okay. So I wouldn't use Kumanda to get rid of yeast. Kumanda is actually useful for treating Lyme, but it only works about 40 or 50% of the time. And although any herb that you go on, even Banderol Cemento supposedly can treat yeast, I actually find they promote yeast, although not as bad or it's not as great of a chance of promoting yeast overgrowth as prescription antibiotics do. But even the herbal Lyme killers, like a Cemento, like a Banderol, like a Kumanda, can cause too many yeast. So I wouldn't use a Kumanda here, okay? In terms of diflucan, it sounds like you had a Herxheimer reaction. And that doesn't mean it's not working. What it means is you got to deal something with your Herxheimer reaction. So I just showed you an article that you can take a look at. Take a look at that article for some ideas. The main thing you want to do, though, is get on, in that article, you'll see, I love using curcumin, all right? So curcumin is a component of turmeric. It does a great job of getting inside of your white blood cells and limiting their ability to make cytokines. It's 500 milligram pill. You would want to do one pill at least 3 times a day. Okay. So Randy, that's what I would consider doing. Take a look also at the article I showed you just a few minutes ago about killing yeast. It gives you some herbal ideas, as well as that idea that I just showed you about lufeneron as another idea that you can use to treat yeast. Those are some things to consider if you don't want to go on the diflucan. Okay. All right. Good luck to you, Randy. And thank you for that question. Hello, Sarah. Let's see. When an antibiotic is working in such a way that you no longer experience any Lyme symptoms, how long should you continue on it? Okay. That's a great question. You know, generally, when I treat Lyme, I like somebody to be symptom-free for at least 2 months before I stop. And that's even with acute Lyme. I want to make sure that we nail this thing so that it doesn't become a recurrent problem in somebody that has acute Lyme. Or in somebody that has Lyme for a year or more when they start getting treated, or a Lyme infection in them for a year or more before they get treated, you know, the chances are when we get done treating, we're not necessarily going to wipe it out. Unfortunately, okay? I think many of you may be aware of that. But what we do want to do is we want to knock it down low enough that the immune system will keep it under control, and that working with good lifestyle habits like exercise, meditation, being on the diet that I just mentioned earlier tonight, doing good things that support your body and your immune system, that maybe you'll keep your germ under control. And you have the best chance of that happening if you're symptom-free for at least 2 months before you stop the antibiotic, okay? All right, hope that answers your question, Sarah, and thank you for that. And everyone, again, I know I gave you brief outlines of the diet earlier. I'm going to try to get more detailed information with downloads and everything that you'll be able to take a look at this weekend. It will be part of the TreatLine book. So yeah, you're going to have to subscribe to it to be able to see that. But it's going to be a description of a modified paleo type diet that supports your nerve tissue and your brain tissue and is anti-inflammatory, okay? And again, that diet is 60% fats, 20% protein, and 20% carbs, and no grains as part of it. I've been doing it myself actually for the last month and a half, and I actually feel really good on it. I noticed made some great improvements in my own energy, and I'm finding some good results in the patients that I've been experimenting with and putting on this diet as well too. And so I'm going to make all that information I make available to my patients available to you. I'm still trying to put it together in a way that's useful, that you'll be able to learn how to do it yourself. And you should see an article up this weekend over that. Okay. probably on Sundays. I bet Saturday is recording day. Sunday is probably when you'll see it posted. Okay? All right. All right. Let's see here. Hello, Mary Jo. Is cryptolepis effective if put in a smoothie, or does it need to be taken in water? I have relapsed, and Babesia is my worst problem. You know, Mary Jo, I find cryptolepis to work with or without food in my patients. Okay, that's been my experience. All right, so I think you're okay bearing it in your smoothie. Cryptolepis, everyone, is an herb that treats Babesia. It works about 75-ish% of the time. It's an herb that comes to us out of Ghana, although there is our U.S. sources of it now. And my favorite source actually is a company called Woodland Essence. You'll read about that in the Babesia article. I was showing everyone the modification I did on that this weekend to update it to say what my experience is that it's the Woodland Essence product. I think that still is a better product that is out there. Okay. I've had some discussions with the head of research nutritionals about that too, trying to say I think he needs to relook at his formulation on that, because that's my experience. Okay, many of you may find it works well in the research nutritionals product, but I'm preferring these days the Woodland Essence product for your crypto. The problem is the Woodland Essence product tastes horrible. It's a horrible tasting herb. So I can understand why you would want to go ahead and put it in smoothies, and I find no problem with you doing that. All right? All right. Good luck to you, Mary Jo. Thank you for that question. Hello, Robin. Let's see. What is the largest difference between borreliosis and babesiosis? My symptoms consist of sweating, poor vision, neuropathy, poor memory, adrenal fatigue, no motivation, and empathy. All right. So, Robin, so I think the easiest thing to do would be for you to take a look at two articles we have. One is, how do you diagnose Babesia? And the other one is, how do you diagnose Lyme? Okay, both of those have detailed lists of symptoms, all right? But I'm going to break out the symptoms that we tend to think of as being more Babesia right now, but take a look at the more detailed articles. You can look through those list of symptoms real quick, okay? So Babesia is known for giving drenching night sweats, panic attacks, air hunger, which is a feeling you just can't get enough air in at times, racing or skipping of your heart, headaches, frontal headaches, migraine headaches, coughing, sometimes nasal congestion. Babesia also can give you little red marks on your skin, and also is known, my favorite Babesia symptom is people with Babesia often will get have frequent deja vu experiences where they where something occurs and they think they've been there before. Okay, so getting deja vu is something that makes you think of Babesia too. All right, so you don't have to have all of those symptoms I just said for Babesia, but those are the ones that make us think about Babesia. All right, so let me show you where you can find both of these articles. Okay, so in terms of articles on how to diagnose, so take a look at the chapter called How to Diagnose, okay? And in here, I have to find what happened to the article on the symptoms of Lyme. Hold on just a minute. Okay, so in terms of Babesia and Bartonella, take a look at this article about how to diagnose Babesia. In here, there's even a video from one of previous webinars that I did that will help you look at that, okay? All right, so you can go back and relook at this again. And then in terms of Lyme symptoms, there's a whole article we have on Lyme symptoms. Let me see what happened to that here. But anyhow, one way to find articles, everyone, you can either use the table of contents and search by chapters, or in the TreatLine book, you can use the search index, okay? So I'm just typing in Lyme symptoms here. There it is. All right, so here's the article by Dr. Brook on symptoms that you can find in Lyme. Okay, so just take a look. You'll see the whole thing here, basically. These are the type of symptoms that you'll see in Lyme. All right. All right, let me go back here. All right, so Robin, I hope that answers your question. I know you really need to look more at the articles that I just showed you. Okay, all right, thank you, and good luck to you. Hello, Jackie. Let's see here. Hi, doctor. Due to severe penicillin rash as a child, my Lyme doc prescribed clindamycin. Being vegan, I am not willing to take a gel cap. It is a liquid. I would much prefer natural treatment course. I look forward to a private consult with you. I think that's what you said. Let me see here. I think. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So Jackie, yeah. I'd be glad to help you look at even options being vegan as well too. Okay. So yeah. So everyone, Jackie's talking about doing a consult. Okay. I've mentioned it here tonight already, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how you can figure out that consult. So look over here. I'm back on our main Lyme disease information site. Take a look at the tab down here on the left-hand side called Online Consult. Okay. This is information about how you can do an internet-based, Skype-based, video-based consult with me where I visit with you online. And I can help you fine-tune your treatment. I can help you find answers. There are people I treat from across the world using this where they also work with a local doctor to help them based on the ideas that I develop for them in this treatment, okay? But take a look at this page. It gives you the ins and outs, how it works, a disclaimer where I talk about some of the limits of working this way and the requirements that you have to do this, okay? If you're interested in setting one of these up or you have questions, you can either give us a call, talk to my receptionist, Christine, who is a wealth of knowledge about helping to answer questions you have, or go ahead and fill out the questionnaire here, this email contact form, and we'll get back to you, okay? All right. All right, so Jackie, thank you for that question. Good luck to you. I look forward to helping you in the future too. Oh, let's see. Oh, I see there was a second part to your question. Let's see. I'm going to do this course after 23 years of Lyme's. Can you give me an idea with a guesstimate of how long I might need to take this? I don't know how long you would need to take it. I need more information. Set up a consult, which I know you're already doing, but yeah, I'd be glad to help you look at that question. Okay? All right. Hello, Natasha. Good to see you here. Thank you for your generous gift of your time and knowledge. You're welcome. A friend of mine also with Lyme has pressure on the back of his neck that keeps him up at night, plus depression and low energy. Would the ashwagandha be a good choice for his energy? Not sure about the depression. And I think there was a second part to your question here, Natasha. And something. You know, Natasha, I don't see a second part to that question. So in terms of things that can help with energy, yes, ashwagandha is a good choice for energy. Because of his pain, though, think of inflammation, and good thing for inflammation is to use curcumin. You can find information about curcumin and other anti-inflammatory herbs I'd like to use in the article called Herxheimer-Dioff Reaction, Inflammation Run Amok. Those are some places that I would begin to look at with your friend Natasha. Okay? All right. Good luck to you. Good luck to your friend. Let's see. Hello, Kaylee. Let's see. My rheumatologist said Lyme is ruled out because my C4A is only 4,800. Do you believe the C4A test being not as high rules out Lyme? No, I don't. There is not a perfect test for Lyme that says it's there or isn't there, okay? Lyme disease is ultimately always a clinical diagnosis where we look at four things. Number one, what's the risk of getting it? So did you get a tick bite in New Jersey where 95% of the ticks carry Lyme? Or are you an outdoors person that might have come in contact with ticks? But part of the problem here, even with that, is 50% of the time that somebody has Lyme, they don't remember a tick bite. So you don't have to have a tick bite to get Lyme. But if you have one, it kind of, or you do activities that might put you in contact with ticks, that increases your chances. So one thing we consider is what's the risk of getting it. Second thing we should always consider is, do you have symptoms that suggest it, and is there any other reasonable explanation for those symptoms? Third thing we consider is, are there any physical exam findings? And the fourth thing is there a supportive test? But 20% of the time that somebody has Lyme, they don't have a supportive test, and the C4A is not a good predictor whether it's positive or negative if somebody has Lyme, okay? So anyhow, I disagree with your rheumatologist. All right, Kaylee, good luck to you. In terms of, take a look for more detail about how you diagnose Lyme, because really, I just skirted that topic. I mean, that is a brief explanation that I just did. Take a look in our table of contents. Look in the chapter called How to Diagnose. And there is a 15-minute video article that I created a number of years ago. Well, not number, I think about 3 years ago now. From a webinar, actually. It was a half-hour webinar about how to diagnose Lyme. Okay, take a look at this. It's a very thorough overview, 15-minute article about how do you diagnose Lyme, and it's still a very current video article. All right. All right. So, good luck. Hello, Shirley. Let's see. I was diagnosed with Lyme and Babesia decani and Mycrati 6 months ago after being sick for 3 years, taking AL and ABAB, but have had red, swollen, sore eyes for 3 years. No rats. This is my problem with this program, everyone. I tried to tell people not to hit enter as you write your questions, because then I can't find the second part of the question sometimes. Let me see here, Shirley, if I can find the second part. Well, Shirley, I don't have the rest of your question. I don't know where it went to. The one thing I will let you know, I know a number of my colleagues use the Byron White formulas, which is what the AL and the ABABs are. I don't know what the big buzz is. I don't find them to be that effective. So I'll just throw that out as commentary for you. I would take my preferences, my preferred approaches to treating Babesia and Lyme. You can see them in 2 articles. One is called Kills Lyme, a brief guide. The other one is called Kills Babesia, a brief guide, okay? And you'll find those in the infection treatment plan chapter in the TreatLine book. I would look at other ways of doing it personally. I just don't find that much benefit from the kind of the supplements that you've indicated here. And I'm sorry, I don't know what the rest of your question is to be able to answer it. All right, good luck to you. Hi, Dr. Ross. My manganese is low even though I've been supplementing with 15 milligrams a day for 2 months now. It's actually lower than when I started supplementing. Is it just that the Borrelia is wiping it all, or could there be another reason for loss through diarrhea or too much of another mineral? Thank you. So, Josephine, I don't know. I don't think it's Lyme wiping it out. What I wonder is if you're having an absorption issue. And one of the main reasons to get absorption issues is if you happen to have too many yeast living in your intestines. So I would consider, if you have too many yeast, take a look at the article that I've written about how do you diagnose too many yeast in your intestines, okay? And see if that fits your situation. All right? All right, good luck to you. Let's see here. All right, let's see here. Hello, Dr. Ross. Hi, Lena. Lana, I should say. I've been reading a lot on bee venom therapy, so many people are turning to it now. because it's been quite effective and inexpensive. I wonder why not so many practitioners familiar with this treatment or even recommend it. Thank you. You know, I know that there are some that get benefit, but on the whole, the majority of people don't get benefit from it. At least that's what my experience has been. But you know, there's, as you know from reading about this illness, there are so many different things that people try, and yeah, there are some people that get benefit from anything. But on the whole, I would not put bee venom therapy up there as one thing that many people get benefit from. Okay, that's just been what my experience is. All right, all right. Good luck to you. I'm glad you're getting some benefit from it. Hello, Tony. Let's see. Hi, Dr. Ross. I have recently had some blood work done, and my IgM was low, and my muscle enzymes very high. Is this common in Lyme, and is there any treatment? And is there any treatment? So there is a situation called where you have low immunoglobulins, low IgM, for instance. Okay, and that can lead to problems with getting infections, not being able to get over Lyme. You can actually take immunoglobulins, and that might be a treatment for you if you happen to have low immunoglobulins. All right. In terms of the elevated muscle enzymes, I would need to know more to be able to figure out the best way to advise you on that. So I don't have a quick answer for you on that one. All right. Good luck to you, Tony. Thank you for writing in with that question. Hello, David. Let's see. I'm on Rocephin IV, and my doc wants to couple it with azithromycin as a cocktail for Lyme that is chronic. Be Safe wants to keep the PICC line U for 16 weeks. Is that long enough? I've done this before, only 6 weeks, and it didn't work. So is there anything else I should ask him about something? Let's see here. So, you know, generally when I make a decision to put people on IV antibiotics, which is about maybe 5% of the time. So, you know, out here on the West Coast of the United States and Washington State where I work, and even down in California, which is south of me, way south of me, actually, you know, there's a West Coast school of thinking. Out here, we tend to go more with oral antibiotics than we do IV antibiotics. Out on the East Coast, they tend to go more with IV antibiotics. And who knows who's right? I think we get great success with orals. I don't think we need to jump to the IV antibiotics as quickly as they do out on the East Coast, okay? But when you do IV antibiotics, I think it does warrant making a good run at it. And usually I like to do it for up to 6 months. So I think 16 weeks may be a little bit short, but that's getting a little bit closer to the 16-month run that I usually will do, all right? The reason I go 6 months is you're going to do it, you know, put all that investment into it. You want to make sure the improvements get locked in before you come off of doing that type of a treatment, okay? All right. Good luck to you, David. Thank you. Thank you for that question here tonight. Let's see. Tandeep, let's see. Sorry, I didn't get the medication you are using to manage the immune system. So Tandeep, it's called Naltrexone, Naltrexrone, Naltrexone. All right, and it's used. We use it in something called low dose Naltrexone. I think I showed you all an article that you could take a look at that earlier tonight in the TreatLine book. All right, all right. Good luck. Hello, Jackie. Let's see. I attended a Lyme seminar. An LLMD spoke. She gave a lot of specifics regarding Lyme. She and your young son, who suffered with Lyme, both emphasized to avoid wireless internet. Have you heard this? Do you know what the theory behind this is? Would you also advise your patients the same? Thank you so much. Okay, so, you know, one of the people that writes a lot about the idea of electromagnetic frequencies and how it might be a toxin to avoid is a physician named Dietrich Klinghardt. I haven't put up any articles specifically on it, but electromagnetic frequencies are a toxin. Now, that doesn't mean that every one of us gets bothered by them. And perhaps Jackie and her son were really sensitive to them. It's just like anything that we do in Lyme. We don't have to fix every problem, but for some people, we do need to address it, all right? So if you happen to be a person that gets around various electromagnetic frequencies, you sit in front of a computer and you do worse, you're around your wireless box and you do worse, then you may want to avoid that. If I've got a person that's really sick and they're not responding to a lot of treatment, I might say cut off all your EMF devices, okay? So anyhow, yeah. So take a look at the article by Dietrich, or Google Dietrich Klinghardt. You'll find some articles he has up about electromagnetic frequencies. I haven't written much about it because I actually don't think it is. I haven't found the time to do it yet. As you know, there's quite an extensive number of resources I put together already. But it's one of those things I find low yield for dealing with, and but some people do get benefit. All right. Thank you, Jackie. Good luck. Hello, Debbie. Good to see you here. Let's see. Hi, Marty. Might there be any harm in trial of Methagard while waiting for 23andMe result for MTHFR deficiency? No, there's no harm in trying it. So everyone, there's a detox problem called MTHFR, where we lack the proper formation of an enzyme called methyltetrahydrofolate reductase, MTHFR. And that enzyme is required to take folate from the diet and activate it. And if you don't get activated folate, called 5-methyltetrahydrofolate, too many words here, but if we don't get enough activated folate downstream, we don't produce enough glutathione, which is the master detox chemical used by the liver to pull toxins out, and therefore you have impaired detox, all right? To fix it, we give the activated folate. And that is 5-methyltetrahydrofolate, all right? And that activated folate, when you do that, though, you can sometimes trigger cytokine excess. So, Debbie, if you were to do it, just realize that you need to start slow, and that if you do it, that you might get a flare-up in your daughter's symptoms, okay? That's the main thing. You need to be aware of that. The reason to really know if you have an ongoing problem is that if you do, and you would learn that from a 23andMe test, is that if you do happen to have that problem, is something that she would need to supplement for probably the rest of her life, just to make sure that she is having adequate chemicals in here to deal with the detox. Okay, all right. So the major harm is she might trigger increased cytokines. All right, and we already know what that looks like. Okay, all right. Thanks for that question, Debbie. All right, Debbie, I'll take another quick one from you. Let's see. If using doxycycline to treat Bartonella as opposed to for Lyme, can you get away with a lower dose? I'm concerned about high-dose doxy causing GI side effects. Thanks. So yeah. For instance, if I'm using doxycycline orally to treat Lyme, I'm going to dose it at 100 milligrams in an adult, 2 pills twice a day. But if I'm using it to treat Bartonella, I will use it at 100 milligrams twice a day. Okay, so yep, it's a good point. You can get by with less of a dose. Okay. All right. Let's see. Hello, Lori. Does the fractionated? Good to see you. I'm starting to see you here again. I hope that doesn't mean that you're having more problems with your Lyme again, but I'm glad to see you back too, to see a familiar name that's been with us through a number, I guess, probably from the early days when I started doing these webinars a few years ago. Does the fractionated pectin need to be taken away from food and supplements? And does it cause constipation like Welchol? So, Lori, no. Welchol and cholestyramine both can cause constipation. That is not what you see with fractionated pectin powder. In addition, it does not tend to bind up everything. So you can take it with or without food. You can take it with or without other medications, okay? So it's a little bit easier to take than what Welchol and cholestyramine are, all right? All right. Good luck to you. Let's see here. Huh. All right, I'm just going to try to take one or two more quickly here. So Mary Jo says she's cheating. This is my second question. Do you use homeopathics for babesia? Now, I don't find them effective. Okay, so that's a quick answer to that one. Let's see. Andrea, thank you for your service. You're welcome. Do you have an opinion on the Green Dragon herbal protocol for Lyme healing? Have you seen eradication of Lyme without antibiotics? I was just diagnosed after years of a misdiagnosis. Fortunately, I've been on IVIG monthly for many years. So I don't know about the Green Dragon there. I don't know what it is, so I can't comment on it. If you've had Lyme for a year or more, I don't think you ever eradicate it. I think you knock it under control. And I think that's an opinion most of my colleagues have as well, too. Okay. All right. So with that, everyone, I'm going to wrap up for tonight. So it's already about 6:27 here. I want to wish everyone happy holidays coming up. Next week is holidays for many of us. And I won't be here. I'm actually going back to see Mom. Mom is in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I'm flying out here from Seattle early next week to go out and spend some time with my mom, who's now 83 years old and is recovering from surgery herself. So I'm going to spend some time with her, and I'm looking forward to that. I will not be here with you the remainder of this month. We will resume doing these webinars again in January. Tomorrow, when you get the email from me, I will have a link set up already so you can start signing up for the January series. And overnight, I got to consider whether I'm going to start doing these the first week of January or the second week, okay? I actually may take a 2 or 3 week break. Oh my gosh, yes, I might take some time off from doing these. But you'll see tomorrow what that's going to look like. And so tomorrow, you will get an email from me with a link to the webinar recording. If you happen not to get that, go to the webinars tab on the TreatLine site, and you'll see a link that you can click to look at the recording, okay? And so anyhow, I should have it up by around 6 or 7 Seattle time tomorrow. And yeah, so that's it for tonight. I hope you all have a happy new year, and I look forward to visiting with you in the new year again. For those of you in a second here, I'm going to take you over to our TreatLine book. And if you need to subscribe so you can look at some of those great articles, go ahead and do that. The other thing is I appreciate your support. When you support the activities you do here, you're helping me to be able to spend more time writing these articles so I can get new things up. And as you already heard, I'm in the middle of developing a new diet page or article that will give a more comprehensive look at what I think may be the better way of going with Lyme, which is to be on a modified type paleo diet. And so you'll get a very, I hope to have a helpful article which actually give you things you can download and put into practice on your own. And we'll even give you an idea how you calculate out how many calories you should be on as well too, okay? So I'm putting that together. There'll be some other articles coming out in the near future too. There'll probably be one on low and LDI with more detail about how it works and why it could be a good idea for some of you to try. Again, though, later in treatment, okay? So anyhow, support the work we do here. I appreciate when you do so that I can keep putting out to help you. All right, everyone. Happy New Year and happy holidays, too. Good night, everyone.